Welcome to the Whisper News channel. The two leaders decided to meet. On the verge of Putin and Zelensky's first face-to-face meeting in nearly 2 years, tactics have completely changed on the front line. While Ukraine has completely changed its shaking strategies, major offensives that will change the fate of the region have started again on Russian territory and on the front line. The announcements that Putin and Zelensky will meet at the G20 summit have increased the pulse of the front line instead of decreasing it. News of the first major attack came from Donetsk. Ukrainian forces carried out 3 powerful strikes with drones on the Russian troop gathering area in the village of Urojane. Ukrainian intelligence, together with the images from the drones and the intelligence sent by the reconnaissance units, identified a large number of Russian troops stationed in a large hangar in the area. There were also 4 large Russian ammunition depots in the area. Hangars and houses in the vicinity are used as ammunition depots by the Russians. Shortly after the intelligence information, the Russian infantry realized that an attack was coming, but too late. A group of Russian soldiers left the area en masse and tried to change their position. However, a Ukrainian drone spotted the Russian infantry second by second. Ukrainian army drones launched 3 strikes on the hangar where the soldiers were located. Later, Ukrainian artillery units launched extensive artillery strikes on the area. As a result of the attacks, 22 Russian soldiers were destroyed, while 4 Russian ammunition depots were destroyed. The number of Russian soldiers mobilized to leave the region is approximately 10. But the soldiers, unaware that they were being watched, entered a different house where their other friends were stationed, and the attack was organized in this area. For the second attack, we will turn our eyes to Bakhmut, not far from the area. In Bakhmut, all the houses where the Russian infantry is hiding and deployed have been identified. As in the Donetsk region, Russian infantrymen are hiding in small neighborhoods to protect themselves from drone strikes. In the meantime, while the drones continued to take continuous images, the Ukrainian 22nd Mechanized Brigade launched a heavy attack. Russian soldiers wanted to flee the area, but 11 more Russian soldiers were neutralized as a result of the attack. After the first Russian casualties, the activity in the region increased considerably. Russian troops moved to the region and took action to regain control. It was observed that the number of Russian soldiers increased considerably in the region. However, the deployments were mutual. The Ukrainian side, on the other hand, sent 3 multiple rocket launcher systems to the region to support the artillery units. Shortly after the rocket systems were dispatched to the region, it was observed that the Russian infantry approached the region again. The multiple rocket launcher systems started to attack again and the positions of the Russian troops were hit. No clear information on the number of casualties was given, but it was reported that 2 more Russian ammunition depots were destroyed. The video of the attacks was shared by the Ukrainian 22nd Mechanized Brigade with the caption "Welcome to Hell." As the attacks continued, the big news came from Moscow. Moscow airport was attacked. It was announced that drones attacked the airport in Moscow and explosions occurred in the region. As a result of the attack at Domodedovo airport, a huge explosion occurred and flames rose from the area. Moscow Mayor Sergei Sobyanin announced that 2 drones were shot down in the Moscow region. Around 4 o'clock at night, the air defense shot down 2 attack drones flying towards the city. One in the Kaluga region, the other in the Moscow Ring Road area, he wrote. As I mentioned, I can say that the leaders' statements of talks have plunged the front line into a great chaos. In this process, Ukrainian forces destroyed Russian targets on the southern line for the 3rd time. The Ukrainian press service announced that Russian armored vehicles carrying ammunition, engineering equipment, and armored vehicles were destroyed with precision strikes. In the published video you can clearly see the attacks. The attacks were carried out by unmanned aerial vehicles and rocket systems. The strikes were carried out at night, and with the first light of the day, you can see the Russian military equipment destroyed in the air. The successive attacks all came after the announcement that the Putin-Zelensky meeting could take place. Matthew Miller, spokesman for the U.S. State Department, said that the United Arab Emirates has made a proposal for a face-to-face meeting between the 2 leaders. President Zelensky will decide on a meeting between Ukraine and Russia. It is true that there could be a potential negotiation for the future of Ukraine and for the end of the war. President Zelensky has made it clear for some time, including since the beginning of this war, that he is open to talks with Russia, which respects Ukraine's territorial integrity and Ukraine's sovereignty. But I must emphasize that Russia must respect Ukraine's sovereignty. That is why the leaders will have such a meeting when they are ready. But the obstacle has always been and remains, Vladimir Putin has not given up his imperialist goals, he has not given up his evil belief in Ukraine. Putin cannot hold a meeting with President Zelensky without withdrawing his troops from the borders of Ukraine. Another headline that has attracted a lot of attention is that Ukrainian troops have captured hundreds of serial Russian military equipment. More specifically, the Ukrainian military now has more than 800 ex-Russian artillery systems, tanks, armored personnel carriers and a range of other vehicles. The captured weapons also include critical equipment used in combat operations, such as electronic warfare and air defense. When small weapons such as machine guns and grenade launchers, which number in the thousands, are added to this high school, the range is truly enormous. During the liberation of Izium in the Kharkiv region, Ukraine's 95th Air Assault Brigade managed to capture a large number of 45 Grad rocket launcher systems. However, the system had to be repaired before it could be used in combat. A nearby assault brigade also managed to take a modernized Russian M-Stabi howitzer, first developed in Soviet times, and the ammunition needed to operate it. When we crossed the Oskol River, we looked for Russian positions, then went around and collected hundreds of rounds of ammunition, said another soldier from the brigade. On the other hand, Ukraine took action after Russia halted grain deals in the Black Sea and targeted transport ships. Kiev said that Russian transport ships will be considered as military ships. The waters in the Black Sea are officially boiling. Days after Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky warned that Russia would have no navy left if they continued to attack Ukraine, Ukraine has declared that Russian transport ships in the Black Sea are military targets. Everything that the Russians move back and forth in the Black Sea, including ports and ships exporting oil from Russia, are valid military targets, Oleg Ustenko, Zelensky's economic advisor, said on Tuesday. His report noted, according to published reports, that the move to strike farther from the Ukrainian coast was a response to what they said were vengeful actions by Russia, which last month pulled out of unbrokered grain deal to allow merchant ships to carry Ukrainian exports out of Ukraine. They also carried out a series of airstrikes on Russian grain warehouses located in Ukrainian ports. If Russia continues to dominate the Black Sea and block it with missiles, Ukraine will do the same, which is a fair defense, Zelensky said. We don't have many weapons, but if they keep shooting, they could be without ships until the end of the war, Zelensky said. Although its navy is quite large, Russia's ship presence in the Black Sea is limited, and in most cases the Black Sea can only be accessed through the Turkish-controlled Bosporus Strait. The attacks show that Ukraine wants to use this to its advantage and is exploring new ways of naval warfare, including the use of unmanned naval vessels. Ukraine's efforts met with success last week after Russia launched two explosive-laden drone strikes that severely damaged the port of Novorossiysk and the Cold War-era landing ship Olenogorski Gornyak and a tanker carrying fuel for Russian troops. Following Ukraine's drone strikes, the UK Ministry of Defence said in one of its periodic intelligence summaries, the strikes have demonstrated that unmanned maritime drone operations are increasingly an important component of modern naval warfare, and that Russia's Black Sea Fleet has been unable to stop these attacks. I would say that the recent announcement by the UK and the intelligence reports officially confirms Zelensky's statements. Operations have begun abruptly in every region of Ukrainian territory, and both armies have completely changed their strategies. In the process, Ukrainian forces are constantly targeting Russian ammunition depots and infantry. On both the eastern and southern fronts, several Russian ammunition depots were destroyed. While we saw two major attacks on Russian infantry, the tension is increasing day by day. The war on Ukrainian territory is likely to continue for a long time. For the stability of the region and to prevent more people from being affected, we hope that the conflicts will be resolved at the table. Here we are at the end of another video. We will continue to convey the events in the following hours to you quickly and accurately. We continue to convey the events to you objectively. You can like the videos to support us. You can also subscribe to the channel to make it easier to follow new videos. I wish you all a happy day and see you soon.